One of the things I get asked quite often is how to cut out fabric. They're normally people that are very new to sewing and they just want to make a simple bag or a cushion or something really easy, but they don't know where to begin. It can be quite daunting, especially if you're using, you know, really nice fabric that you've spent money on. You don't want to cut into it and make a mistake. So my first tip is always go for some old spare fabric when you're first starting out. Go to the charity shop, buy yourself a duvet cover or just some bed sheets, something like that, so that you can get practiced first of all before you cut into your good stuff. The next thing you want to get hold of is one of these Quilters Rules. Now these are quite daunting. They come in loads of different sizes. This one is the one that we use here in the studio. It's actually a Janome ruler, but you don't have to get a Janome brand, and it's 24 inches by 6 inches, and I find that this one can cover most things, and it's a good size to have if you're only going to have one ruler. To go with your ruler, buy yourself some friction pens. These are by Pilot and you can buy them in any supermarket. You'll just find them in the stationery aisle. The reason they're so good is that you can remove these with heat. Now, do bear in mind there are occasions that these pens do leave a little mark behind. It tends to only be on specialist fabrics like upholstery weights, or if you're using something that's a bit linen-y or silky. So do test them first on a little scrap of fabric. If you're not able to use a friction pen, then good old tailor's chalk will work just as well. Now once you become proficient in sewing, you can use a rotary cutter with your ruler. But until that time, I always recommend drawing out the shape that you want to cut first on your fabric with your friction pen and then using scissors to cut it out. So let's say you wanted to cut a 2x2 square. Take your ruler. You can use the markings on the ruler to draw yourself a 2" by 2" square. Once you've got your 2x2 square, simply use your scissors and cut it out. The great thing about doing it that way is that you can do the whole measure twice, cut once thing. In fact, sometimes I measure 3 or 4 times before I cut out. Once you've cut out your square, if there's any ink showing along the edge here, you can simply iron it to remove it. Although in fairness, it's probably going to get caught in your seam allowance once you sew and you're not going to see it anyway. Now, did you know that there is a right way and a wrong way to use a pair of fabric scissors? Now, all I will say is this doesn't go for the left-handed amongst you or left-handed fabric scissors. I'm really sorry, but you're just going to have to carry on struggling. But if you're right-handed, this might help you. Now, if you look at your fabric scissors and you look at them straight on like this and you open them up, if you look to the left, that bottom blade has a slight curve and the inside blade is nice and flat and nice and straight. Now, if you place this inside straight curve against the line you're cutting, you're going to get a nice straight cut. If you place the curved line, you're going to get a not so straight cut. Let me show you by filming down. So I've drawn a curve on my fabric. Let's pretend that this is a pattern piece for a dress or a garment and we've pinned it onto our fabric. If I keep whatever it is that I'm cutting on the right of my scissors, it means that the inside straight blade on the bottom blade is going to be running nicely along the edge of my pattern piece. It also means that I can use my spare hand to hold the spare fabric, allowing me to do nice, long, even cuts along the edge of my fabric, and I'm not moving this area at all. If, however, I was to try and cut from this angle, so I had the curved blade running along the side of whatever I'm cutting out, I have no choice. I can't hold on to my pattern. I don't want to lift it. I don't want to move it. I have no choice but to do, kind of hold it over here with my arm and do little snippy cuts. I can't do a nice neat cut. Look how jagged that is. Now, I may have over exaggerated this a little bit. Obviously I'm doing it through the camera, but it's much easier to be able to hold on to your excess fabric and do nice long cuts. Far neater and far smoother. So obviously it's super hard trying to show you how to do that on camera, but trust me, next time you're cutting something out, think to yourself, is what I'm cutting out on the right hand side of my scissors? If it is, you're going to have a dream time cutting it out. And if you start cutting something out and you think this feels really odd, I feel really uncomfortable, stop for a moment, ask yourself where the scissors are, and I guarantee they'll be on the left of whatever you're cutting out. So I hope those tips helped those of you who are just starting out on your sewing journey and are learning how to cut things out for the first time. Don't reach straight for the rotary cutter. Go for the scissors, go for the pens. Don't let yourself make those mistakes. Slowly but surely build up your confidence, reach for the fancy tools, and before long you're going to be flying. I will see you again soon for another top tip. Bye!